What's going on, everybody? Marvel Across 316 back with another comic book flashback. And today, folks, we are looking at X-Men issue number 112. This issue came out in August of 1978, and we see that the X-Men are going up against Magneto. And Magneto has his full powers, and they're going to be on display in this issue, folks. I mean, this is going to be one crazy battle that we're going to be looking at today. Today's title is Magneto Triumphant, folks. I mean, he's going to basically dominate the X-Men in this issue. And so we saw that the X-Men, the last time they fought, Magneto was in issue number 104 for a brief amount of time, but now we're going to see the X-Men go up against Magneto in this issue. It's an awesome issue, folks. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we get started, we got to give credit where credit is due. This issue is brought to you by Chris Claremont, who wrote this issue. We have John Byrne on the penciling, Terry Austin on the inking, folks, Bruce Patterson on the lettering, M. Titus, the colorist, and Jim Shooter on the editing. And so, how in the world did Magneto know that the X-Men were at this circus? We recall from issue number 111 that the X-Men had been kidnapped. They had been brainwashed by Mesmero, and they were like side freaks at this circus. They all lost their identities, and the Beast was sent to rescue the X-Men. But how did Magneto know that the X-Men were here at this carnival? We'll soon find out, as we are going to soon find out as we look at these pages here. We see that the X-Men have to hold Wolverine back because he's ready to pounce on Magneto. Wolverine has a very short temper if you know Wolverine at all. And what we're going to soon see, folks, is that Magneto is going to reveal how he knew that the X-Men were at this carnival. But first, we see that Nightcrawler is sent to scout the area, and to his surprise, and to everybody's surprise, he cries out with a big scream, and the reason for this is because the X-Men are up in the air. They had no idea, but this now is a traveling wagon, and Nightcrawler was about to just teleport in midair, and if that was what happened, then he would have died. And so we see here that Colossus is going to be the one to pull him back into the wagon here. And Wolverine's like, the elf is safe, big fella, but Buckethead ain't. And Magneto's like, if you want me, madman, here I am. I defy you to do your worst. Bub, that's music to my ears. But Cyclops is like, you crazy loon, for once in your misbegotten life, think before you act. We're 10 miles up, man. Whose power do you think got us here and keeps us alive? Banshee and Storm can't carry anyone. There isn't enough air up here to support their powers, and even if they could, we'd all freeze long before we reached the ground. Beast says, face it, Shortcake, the ball's in Magneto's court. Let him make the next move. And this is where we find out how Magneto knew that they were at the circus. We see that Magneto, after being, resurrected, if you don't know that full story, you need to go back and reread some of the early X-Men issues as to how Magneto was basically shrunk to a little child, but then he was resurrected in issue number 104 by Eric the Red. But anyway, he sees that Beast is coming out of the Quinjet to check on the X-Men, and he follows the Beast to Texas, where this circus is located at. And he follows Beast at a short distance, and he realizes that the X-Men have lost their identities here, as he sees Banshee as a carnival barker, and he sees that then Beast was beaten an inch of his life here, and we see Mesmero was involved in this entire scenario. And he says, for all his vaunted power, Mesmero was less than nothing to me. A magnetic force blast took care of both him and the Beast. And so now we know the full story. And what we see here is Magneto is going to take Mesmero, and he's going to throw him out of the wagon. And we also learn, if the X-Men didn't know by now, that Mesmero is just like a robot. He's not really like the Mesmero that Lorna Dane fought long ago in issue number 58. And so we see here that Mesmero is going to be thrown out of this wagon here. We have this jet following because they're like, what in the world is this? I've never seen a flying wagon before. And to their surprise, they see Mesmero is thrown out of the wagon and they're going to follow him. He's going to be thrown into this Amazon jungle. The X-Men are like, what have you done, you monster? Even if Mesmero was your most hated enemy, to callously hurl him to his death? And then Magneto's like, you underestimate my powers, young woman. I am controlling Mesmero's descent. His landing will be painful, but that's no more than he deserves. You are my oldest foes, X-Men. My bitterest defeats have been at your hands. If anyone has earned the right to destroy you, it is I. So Magneto is going to take the X-Men to his home base. It's underneath the Earth's core here. They go through this magma, this volcano, and to their big surprise, they're going to be going to this underground masterpiece of automated technology that would make Tony Stark and Reed Richards proud. I mean, this is what Magneto has built by his own hands, and this is where the battle is going to take place. Cyclops uses his optic blast and makes the first strike against Magneto, but this is where everything descends to chaos here, because the X-Men are not trained to fight Magneto. They're still pretty new. I mean, we're only in maybe 12 issues in, and the X-Men have no training at all to fight Magneto, especially this new team. Cyclops and Phoenix are the experts about Magneto and his powers, but the rest of the X-Men, they have no fighting experience against Magneto, and that's what we're going to see in this issue is that maybe Storm is probably the closest person to land the defeat to Magneto, as she causes this huge winter storm to come right on the body of Magneto, but she holds back because she doesn't believe in killing anybody. And because of holding back, Magneto uses his power and throws that power back to Storm, knocking her out. I mean, Nightcrawler stands no chance against Magneto, throws Nightcrawler, and he's going to land right into the hurtling body of Colossus. Colossus has to transform back to his human guise, because if Nightcrawler would have struck the steel body of Colossus, he would have died. And then we see that right here, more X-Men come up against him as Banshee tries to use his sonic scream, but then is thrown right back at him. I mean, Magneto is just so powerful in this issue, and it's very cool that Chris Claremont made him this powerful, because the X-Men, you would think they're powerful, but it goes to show that they're novices at this point, and they need a lot of training to go up against a masterful mutant like Magneto. Now, Cyclops, he's like him and Marvel Girl or Phoenix are the only two left standing, and Magneto takes care of Cyclops. Now he's going to go up against the Phoenix. Now, at this point, Magneto thinks that he's going up against Marvel Girl from the early 60s, but no, this is not Marvel Girl. Remember, Jean Grey gained her Phoenix powers in issue number 101, and she's going to use her powers against Magneto. And Magneto's like, I've never seen anything like this. This rivals Professor Xavier's powers here. But we see that even Phoenix is going to go down for the count here, as she has a limit to her power. She thought she had no limits to her power, but for some reason, her powers are not going to work against Magneto, so she goes down. Magneto thinks he has been triumphant here, but Wolverine gets back up. He tries his best to attack, but he only rips the cape of Magneto. So Magneto then is going to use his magnetic powers, and he's going to try to cause Wolverine to stab himself with his own claws. But instead, Magneto wants all the X-Men to be alive because he is going to show them what his true plans are. As we are soon going to see, as they reawaken, they are all being held as prisoner here by Magneto. They're all, they can't move. And so, what is going to be happening here to the X-Men, and what does Magneto have up his sleeve? He introduces the X-Men to a robot called Nanny. He says that she is the perfect mother for them. So what is Magneto doing? Why are the X-Men receiving a nanny? Well, the whole purpose of this is that the X-Men have control of their powers, but they can't use their powers. They're like 6-month-old infants. And so what his big plan is he wants the X-Men to feel his own pain. As when Magneto was an infant, now the X-Men are going to be treated like infants now. And he said if there ever was a hell, or if there is a hell, the X-Men, surely it cannot be more terrible than this. And so the X-Men are going to go up against extreme persecution here. And it looks like, yes, Magneto is triumphant here. He gets the last laugh here. So how are the X-Men going to get out of this predicament? Are they ever going to be able to break loose? We'll have to find all this out coming up next in issue number 113. But before we look at that issue, comment down below. What do you think is going to happen up next? Are the X-Men going to be able to escape? And how are they going to escape? I'd like to know what y'all's predictions are. Go ahead now and give this video a like, comment down below once again, and subscribe. And I will see y'all in the next one.